Night and the Gemini crew.
Let's just talk about the world. Give this page another turn, 'cause you're here with us tonight.
Oh man, you're here tonight, people.
Everything's alright when you're here with Mike in the night. Mike it through the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Giving the world light when you're here with Mike in the night. Mike it through the night, you're here with Mike in the night.
Sometimes things are just absurd, so let's just talk about the world.
'Cause you're here with us tonight. Mike it through the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Mike it through the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Let's just talk about the world. Give this page another curl, 'cause you're here with us tonight.
I bid you all good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you may be watching this transmission. It is I, Mike Martins. Welcome to another very special edition of Mike in the Night. Today is the 7th day of April 2020. Whether you're watching us in your box in the sky, condo, cabin in the woods, or if you are just watching us from an undisclosed area, in your bug out area, or your secret area, you're tuned into Mike in the Night. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Stretch back that lazy boy. Stretch out in bed. If you're listening to this on podcast, I want to thank people for rebroadcasting this. And I want to thank everybody for being part of the channel and contributing with their comments and coming on the show and making the difference. Thank you so much. Anyways, guys, okay, so there's lots to talk about tonight, and there's one major concern. The second wave. It's the second wave. It's the inevitable. And what do we do? How do we? A lot of this is out of our power and what's happening. I've been trying to connect the dots in a way so I don't get my head smashed in or get picking up at night at my house. A lot of people like to view this channel as doom porn, gloom and doom, and just trying to scare people. Nobody is here against their own will. Not a single person watching this is watching this against their own will. We come here to find answers. We come here to talk the talk. When we have troubles finding answers, we come together. We come together right now on Mike in the Night. All right, guys. So what's happening? There's a lot happening, guys. Let's go over a channel plug real quick. I don't have a channel plug open right now. So I just want to set you guys up real quick here. If you guys want to, if you don't mind to, set in your reminders here on the channel. Live right now, Mike in the Night. Home Sweet Home. Guys, tomorrow is my 200th episode of Trends in the Housing Market. And if everyone could tune in for that, I've been talking about the whole housing fiasco that's been going on for basically have destroyed generations to come. The fabric of Canadian society, fabric of Australian society, UK society, and American society. And it's been a fabric that took a long time to put together. And now it's destroyed, or it's becoming destroyed. Mike in the Night, Save a Prayer for Me Now edition this Saturday, guys. Don't forget to set your reminders for these two shows. Today, I covered a few videos today. Don't forget to watch Email from a Nurse in Mississippi. Testing for COVID going down, why? And from yesterday, we had the Face Mask Wars. Don't forget to check out Face Mask Wars. It's heavily, heavily, heavily throttled back. Please check it out. All right, guys, that's all I wanted to throw out there. Let's get into what is happening, guys. So, tourist sites packed as coronavirus lockdown lifts and misses in Wuhan and the more heavily infected parts of China. So, oh, we got Mama Bear. I haven't seen her in ages. Mama Bear in the house. 26 Gunter in the house. Sorry, guys. I don't mean to ignore you guys. Blink Bill. We got 26 Gunter. Tig Nim in the house. Yeah, you guys been seeing my ugly face every day. Steven Sewell in the house. Madaski. Craig Cook. All the regulars in the house. All the regulars. Aquarius in the house. Woo! Yeah, guys, it's been very hard to woo. It's been very hard to woo, guys. Serenity now, my man in the house, buddy. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate your presence here tonight. Guys, remember, no one's being held against their will to watch my show. If people think I'm fear-mongering, then go watch something else. That's the best part of living in a free country. Anything and everything is saying hi. Terrence is saying, yo. It looks like that's a picture of his little emoji there. It looks like it's Phoenix. I can't really see it. It's a tiny, but it looks like it's Phoenix. What else? We got Andrew INFJ. Hi from Australia. All my buddies down under watching. It's been hard to woo, guys, with what's happening. And the whole psychological psyche that's happening with this. Guys, I don't want to keep plugging the channel, but I want you guys to see this video. Right here. Mike in the Night Mind Games. I had 16. I have them all here. I had, on that show, it was very successful. I had, my first guest was from South Auckland, 35 miles of South Auckland, New Zealand. Then the other guest I had was from west of Sydney. Third guest was from Toronto. Fourth guest was from Seattle. And then the 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth was from Toronto, then Vancouver, then Edmonton, Central Australia, Thailand, and Syria. And Syria was my last guest from Syria. So that was a really good show. Please go into this Mike in the Night Mind Games. And you know what? I'll just put a...
Ventilation is very poor. So
oh, we had Eduardo on the show too. I even forgot to add him on the list. So we had Eduardo on the show. So there it is, guys. Check that out. And let's get back to what we came here to talk about. Okay. So Chinese tourist sites packed as coronavirus lockdown lifts. Here comes the second wave. Wuhan lockdown ends as tens of thousands are about to flee the city. That's what I'm afraid of, because Canada and Australia still have open flights to China. China lifts 76-day lockdown in Wuhan as city reemerges from coronavirus crisis. So 76 days is a long time, and I really hope that they've really solved this issue. I really wholeheartedly hope that they've really kept the rest of the world in mind when it comes to making a decision this big. Maybe lifting the lockdown but closing flights out of China. Maybe I would, suggest that, but what do I know, right? China lifts 10-week lockdown on Wuhan after new deaths reported for first time in former epicenter. So this is one I've been talking about. So I was talking to Massimo today in Italy. And I really need to practice my Italian a bit more. My Italian is very bad, but we spoke. And he said that this article here that he sent me says, Italy's coronavirus death toll is likely much higher. Most deaths simply aren't counted. Now, here's the deal, okay? He told me on his soul, like on his soul, like on his everything he stands for, that there's of the 11 major hospitals in northern Italy, he said only 3 of them are counting the death toll. He says he has no reason to lie to me. He has no reason to tell me anything. You know what I'm saying? So Double Dash is saying, Mike, you have a good brand going. Keep it up. You could be the next Canadian Ed the Sock. I wish. Ed the Sock is very famous. Very, very famous. Tig Nim can't spell. Woo! Man, it's hard to woo anymore, man. I'm just, this whole thing is just really, I'm just trying to connect the dots here. Ontario is not reporting more than 1,000 likely COVID-19 cases. So this one's from a few days ago that Ontario is no longer, but here is the one that ties into it. From the CBC, Ontario confirms 379 new COVID-19 cases as testing declines, protective equipment shortage persists. So testing has been declining. They have stopped testing people. And I did a video about that too today because this is very important. If you stop testing people, then you're going to stop figuring out who's infected and it's going to be put back in the general population. So let's go here to that video today, right here. Testing, why COVID is going down, why? So here it is. The number of tests in Ontario has completed, the number of tests has completed daily has dropped steadily over the past week, a worrying trend according to doctors who argued that the widespread of testing is the only way to get an accurate picture of the spread of COVID-19 and a crucial tool to make sure those who are infected don't transmit the virus further. Double Dash is saying, Mike, good guy, much respect to someone who puts everything out there. Thanks, man. That means a lot to me. Serenity Now. Why can't I woo like Mike? I'm old, buddy. Buddy, I'm old. And I was telling my friend earlier, I was talking to a friend earlier today, which reminds me of something else that happened too today. A friend of mine's really sick. Right now. And, young guy, good friend of mine. I mean, a very good friend of mine is very sick. And he's not responding to his texts. He texted me 2 days ago and told me that he can't move and he's having troubles breathing. I think he's just turned 40. And I'm very concerned about him. I was thinking about him earlier today and I texted him again and I messaged him on Skype here to try and get him on the not to get him on the show, to get a hold of him. And I'm very concerned about him, extremely concerned. I know he tunes into the show and he comments here, so I hope I see him comment on here tonight. Anyways, Jesse Flores, Craig Cook in the house. Tig Nim says, genocide, Bill Gates. 26 is saying, Mike Martins, that's the point. Then they can even more extreme measures and people will accept it. But again, if you watched last night, Mike in the Night, we went over the banning of everything. The banning of travel, the banning of, they call them moving picture halls. They weren't called movie theaters. They closed everything down 102 years ago. They shut everything down 102 years ago during the Spanish influenza. Craig is asking, where's your friend? He's a local here in town. Yes, Mama Bear's asking me if I saw the article on Global today, where Toronto sent 62,500 faulty masks to elderly care facilities. Yeah, but you got to remember that they didn't know it was faulty. And the best way to check for a faulty mask, guys, I told you guys, put the mask on, light a lighter, and blow. If the lighter doesn't blow out, then you know you got a good mask. But if you could blow the lighter out, it's garbage. They recommend you put 2 of those masks on, but I don't even think that's even, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, Mama Bear says now they're going to start inspecting them. How many more were sent to other places that haven't been discovered yet? There was no info where they got them. But here's the deal, guys. They got them from China. Whenever they don't want to tell you where they got something, China. China is on its last shoestring right now. It's very disliked. The Chinese Communist Party right now is very disliked all over the world. My friend was telling me the other day, asking me, saying basically, Mike, aren't you afraid that they're going to come and get you and stuff? I said, no, they could come and get me. They could come and arrest me. They could put me in jail. That's fine. That's great. But you know what? Then we could kiss everything goodbye. Because when someone can't come out and create discussion, we have now the freedom to assemble for now. So we have the freedom to assemble right now. And once they take that away from us, then we're left in the dark. And that's what I'm afraid of. And if they want to come and get me, because I think it's a good idea that we discuss what's going on as a group and maybe, come up with better ideas on how to protect ourselves and our families, then, if they want to do that, then that's fine with them. They could come. I don't care. I don't care. So this is it. Equipment shortage, testing declines. New COVID-19 cases as testing declines. Why are they not testing people? So let's take a look at our barometer here for the COVID-19 from our friends at Johnny Hopkins here. So, oh man, we're pushing 400 large in the United States. Oh, it just went back down. I think that's broken. Let's go over here. Let's refresh this one. Yeah, 400 large in the United States right now. 400,000. Spain, just right behind. Italy severely undercounting. I'm telling you, the person that gave me this information, I'm telling you this, he has absolutely no reason to lie to me. From the guy, my friend Massimo from Northern Italy that works in the hospitals in Northern Italy. And he told me that of 11 major hospitals, only 3 of them are counting the dead. So there it is. There's the total case. Let's go to new cases here. Mexico is going up, but Mexico really isn't testing. Panama, Hungary, China, South Korea, all these are getting new cases. But I thought China has no new cases, according to what we were reading here. What? China shouldn't have any cases. Should be 0. Because they just lifted the ban today. All right, let's go to new deaths. Who's dying here? Yeah, this is just updated, I think, every couple of minutes. But Mexico's ranking top. It's rank 1 right now. Nat Pacheco said 84 doctors died in Italy. Yes, I actually covered that story. I got a little emotional reading it because it was intense. All right, guys, let's get our first. I'm gonna get. Let's get my friend Jacob on the phone. We're gonna add Supreme to the call with him. So let's get Jacob on first to get his insight. I hope Supreme's watching this in the background, where he could weigh in when he comes in with Jacob, okay? So let's get some professionals on the show. I'm going to get a man from Japan back on, because now things are heating up in Japan, and I'm going to get him on. I'm going to get him back on the show as soon as possible, so we could discuss what's happening in Japan right now, so he could give us a boots on the ground perspective. So let's get our friend Jacob on the phone real quick here.
Hello,
Jacob,
Mike. How are you?
how are you, my brother?
Good, good. What can I do for you?
Well, remember I called you earlier and I sent you a bunch of links?
Yes, yes.
Well, you're live right now.
Oh, fantastic. Tell everyone I said hi. And tell them myself, I suppose.
Okay, so
So,
so you saw the
uh,
links I sent you earlier.
yes.
Can you please give
And,
me a rundown, in your opinion, what is happening with this lockdown being lifted?
in China in particular, right?
What's going on? Can you just maybe tell us what you think is going on?
Well, I'm sure you're aware, and many people are aware of this also. The reputation of the Chinese government is worth more than the lives of Chinese citizens, for example, among other things, right? It doesn't surprise me at all that they would move heaven and earth to lift their lockdown or at least make it appear that way. Because, like I said, their reputation is everything, right, to them. You got a very paranoid regime there, and they would do anything to return things to normal or at least make it appear that way, right? Now, I had friends in China, but I haven't spoken with them in a long time, right? So I don't know what's going on over there.
Is that your TV in the background? I hear
So
something.
is too loud?
Oh, is it the news you're watching?
Yeah, I was watching. Yeah, sorry
Yeah.
about that.
No, I'm sorry I bugged you during your news broadcast.
No, not at all. No worries.
Well, now there's several people on the show right now, and it's late at night, and there's several people already on here. So a lot of people like you. I've when you came on and you gave us that description of the lung X-rays, I really appreciate you doing that for us.
Right, right. You know, I had gone to school for forensic pathology in many years ago that I care too many that I care to count. But I moved into private security in the private sector, and I don't always get to talk shop about uh, pathology, right? So I was very excited to get a chance to jump on it and flex my credentials, so to speak.
Good for you.
Because
That's good.
the
I'm happy you brought that to the table. So now here's this one here. Here comes the second wave. Wuhan lockdown ends, and tens of thousands are about to flee the city.
Yeah, see, I find that really, really strange that they would allow this to happen internally in their own country, unless unless they don't care, right? Because they're in China, you have a dual passport system for internal travel, plus you have your social credit score and all this kind of stuff, right?
Right.
So if you're from a certain province, it says that on your ID. If you're from rural China, you get a different type of passport. Like everything's all controlled there, right? So the for them to lock it down their country would be fairly easy for them to do because they're an authoritarian regime, right?
Right.
And they did this mostly for the migrant workers internal in their country, going from the countryside to the city back and forth, right? So you're essentially like a two-tier system of citizenship there. And then on top, you need your cell phone to pay for everything. Excuse me. So it would be easy for them to do. And why they would be lifting or making it appear to be lifting would only be, I think, to repair their damaged reputation.
That makes so much sense because I never thought of it like you just said. But that's why Macau is Portuguese China. That's why after Macau, I guess, gained independence from Portugal, people that allowed to go in there are people that held Portuguese passports for the longest time.
Yes, yes. And
That's weird.
I had been to Macau several times for business,
Mm-hmm.
and there's essentially it's all strategically designed. So there's only two ways in. There's like two bridges essentially because it's all drained swamp and flatlands where they built their big city, right? So even that is very, very tightly controlled, right? Not to mention the airspace and the surrounding territorial waters and all that stuff, right? So that was all thought out in their standard communist doctrine for eyes to be focused inward and not outward, focused in on their people and not out at the outside world, right? So I think that them lifting the lockdown is probably an outright lie, or it would be highly controlled as to where these folks are allowed to leave, if they're allowed to leave anywhere.
Because I'm concerned about because Canada still has flights open from China, and so does
Yes.
Australia.
Yes, when I was speaking with a few of my friends in the airline industry, because I have worked also in aviation security, and they're telling me that empty aircraft are flying back and forth for whatever reason. So when airlines are flying an empty aircraft, the only point would be to move it for taxiing purposes, and that's a huge cost, right? Most aircraft have $100,000 worth of fuel, right? So what would be the point of flying an empty aircraft across the Pacific Ocean just to say that you have open flights? Because the Chinese government would probably not let them leave. This is what I'm thinking. Or they're moving their fleets around to a better strategic locations. So the aircraft are moving around, so they're closer to maintenance bays, closer to domestic markets, and things of that nature. Because probably half the planet at this point is not flying. When was the last time you saw a jet in the sky above your house? Right?
Yeah, but I'm in the area where planes don't really fly over where I am.
Okay, well, I'm like 50 kilometers outside of Toronto, and it is as busy as a highway, generally speaking. I have not seen an aircraft in 2 months. Right?
Okay.
So the air traffic is definitely being redirected. They're definitely pooling their fleets because they have giant fleets of aircraft, right? At any given time, there's millions of people flying around up in the sky, coming and going.
All right. Let me get to
So
the second part that I want to ask you. Italy's coronavirus death toll is much likely higher. Most deaths are simply aren't counted. Now, I do have a friend named Massimo, and he's been telling me exactly what's going on there. Out of the 11 major hospitals in northern Italy, only 3 of them are counting the dead, and he swears this he swears to holy heaven that he's not lying. He's not making this up. He's not trying to get something out of anybody. He just wants me to let people know that. Now, my question to you is, why aren't they not counting the dead? Why did China lie about its death toll? Because it's almost double or triple Italy's now. What is happening in that? Like, how do we put a model together or create a model for reference or future reference so that we could kind of backtrack and kind of see how things are moving? How can we do that without knowing actual statistics? Go ahead, Jacob.
Well, for one thing, someone is definitely keeping score. They don't have to. It doesn't say anywhere in our constitutions and our rules that the media has to tell the truth. They do have constitutional protection to operate, but there's nowhere does it say they have to tell you what's really going on. If you're an elderly person, 70 plus, when you pass away, they don't. An autopsy is not an automatic thing. Cause of death is natural causes. I believe it's 70 and up, and this is in most developed countries. So from what I understand from the way this virus is progressing, it tends to go after elderly people very, very virulently, right? Very aggressive. It takes them off their feet. Within a couple of days, their lungs have been so constricted they can't breathe anymore. So when someone like that passes away and they're in their 70s, they can just say natural causes. It's like, yeah, it's not. You don't necessarily have to autopsy them or find a COD.
Because we have roughly from Italy some numbers. We're getting kind of a wide range of numbers where we got 21% of people died from 20 to 30 years old. And then we're getting other numbers from another part of Italy where 33% were from 20 to 30. So that's kind of a scary projection to be, you know.
Well, what I'm seeing is from a medical standpoint, your immune system is not fully standalone until you're in your 30s, right? Just like many parts of your brain are not fully developed until you're in your 30s also. So your immune system, this is where you develop allergies also, where the histamine production in your blood system can be shocked by a foreign entity. Like, for example, cat hair. You grow up in a house where Nana has a bunch of cats or whatever, and then all of a sudden the kid has a cat allergy because his system was shocked, right? And shocked is essentially your immune system becomes has post-traumatic stress. And this will happen. This is very, very common with allergies. And people will notice they had allergies when they are young. They don't have them when they're old, because as they mature, their immune system also matures.
Okay, I did not know that till you just told me that. That's phenomenal. All right.
So you live in the suburbs, right?
Right.
So most of the plants in your area would be male trees, because male trees are usually a lot less maintenance. So the city will plant male trees that produce tons and tons of pollen. And I bet you if you ask the people in the area that grew up on that street, probably a third of them or more are allergic to pollen, because they get saturated with it when they are young, right? So their body has post-traumatic stress.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. Well,
for lack of a better term.
Well, I learned a lot of things today. Wow. Okay. Now, this is one that's really concerning me, and I need you to kind of blanket this over. Ontario confirms 379 new COVID-19 cases. Okay, that's not the point. The point of this is testing is declining. I've read 4 to 5 different articles, and in Canada, testing is declining in the province of Ontario and British Columbia, but it's growing in other parts. Testing is growing in other parts like Quebec, where it's skyrocketing through the roof. And let me see if they have the graph on here. Tests. Let's see if they compare Quebec here. Let me see if I can find the Quebec. In Quebec, it's just going right through the roof.
Yes.
They're test positive. So, can you maybe explain to us, why do you think this is happening?
Well, the close quarters in retirement homes and critical care homes for the elderly, they live essentially as roommates, right? This is a perfect breeding ground at the best of times, let alone a disease that is not detectable until you're post the period of being contagious. So there's pre-contagial and post-contagial. So by the time you get sick, you're already past the point where you can give it to other people. So we're giving it to each other before there's any symptoms of it, which
Right.
is
We did discuss an article on the channel where the Pentagon did a report that this could sit inside you from anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks, and then they extended it and revised the article from 4 to like 16 weeks now.
Yes, and that's a huge red flag for me, because these type of respiratory versions of influenza, because SARS and things like that and influenza, they're all from the same group. Hence the corona virus family. That's why they called it COVID-19, for example, right? Because it's the 19th identified marker and mutated version of this one.
Right.
But none of them do this. None of this. You're post-contagion when you're in recovery. So all of it's not like a modern flu at all. It's almost as if it had been engineered. And if it was engineered, then it would be essentially an experiment. Because if it is a weapon, then it would be far more deadly than it is.
So,
if that makes sense, because they can make a flu in a laboratory that could kill all of us, right? If they wanted to, easily. Unless it's some kind of.
I'm just thinking. Okay.
Okay. I see. I lean to suspect that this is a natural virus. However, it does have some very, very disturbing behavior, tactics, and patterns that would appear that you would see in an engineered weapon.
That's what a lot of people are pointing at. So now let's look at the CBC here. This was just updated 11 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 874 people reading this right now as we're speaking. And we're going to add a few more that are watching the show right now live. Modeling suggests that as many as 800,000 COVID-19 infections could sweep Alberta, says Premier Jason Kennedy. So now this makes me wonder, you know how there's always someone that keeps track or someone that knows? I think there's a small group in a room that knows what this is going to do.
100%.
That knows how much this is going to take out. Now, I think some of these people in the higher up areas, like these kind of guys, premiers and stuff, I think they're just catching wind or rumor, And they're really taking it serious in some provinces because I think it's who you know and who you're connected to. So this guy now, why would the premier of Alberta come out? And this article has been updated 3 times in the last 2 hours already. Why
Well, of
is
course, at some point he would sit down with his healthcare experts and they would lay it out for him, right? And they're like, by the time we start having cases here, it's already too late, right? So we have to go into management, disaster management, essentially, right? So they would essentially shock a politician who's not a doctor or a healthcare professional and show them all these facts. You should see the premier out here in Ontario. He does his press conference. He looks terrified, right? Because they're probably, perhaps even manipulating the circumstances to their benefit, which human
Are you
beings
talking about
tend to
Dougie
do.
Ford?
Yes.
Okay.
He looks like a deer in the headlights during his conferences because
Oh
obviously
yeah, I
he's
saw
being
that.
briefed.
It's kind of weird you brought that up because I saw him and he looked like he just walked outside of he walked into the wrong nightclub and then walked out like, oops, I'm sorry, I walked in there, type of thing,
Yes.
or walked into the wrong bathroom.
I feel that people have been manipulating the circumstance for their benefit because we saw that during the SARS pandemic back in 2003. I want to say it was. They were, pushing the gowns and the masks and all this, and medical supply companies were getting very wealthy doing that. And a simple surgeon's mask from a disposable surgeon's mask could have eliminated essentially the threat because it was all droplet transmitted, right? So if you were wearing the mask and you coughed into it, you'd be fine. And it was spread around through droplets, right? And from what I'm seeing, the data that I've seen, this is airborne and surface survivable.
Mm-hmm.
So if you cough it into the air, it can land on the table. You touch the table, it's over. Right? You got it.
Okay, now let me ask you this question from a different angle.
Sure.
We're getting reports that and that the COVID-19 in Ontario is starting to plateau. Okay, this is what
Yes.
they're saying, but then we're getting a different suggestion from the premier in Alberta saying that they're going to see as many as 800,000. I didn't even think that many people lived in Alberta, to be honest with you. I'm just being sarcastic, but that's a lot of people, Jacob.
Yeah, you're looking at 50 to 60% of the population.
But then why are these two completely contradicting each other?
Because I feel that they don't know.
Yeah.
They simply don't know how their precautions are going to progress through the area. How it's going to affect the rural communities compared to the city areas, So their different populations have different geographical demographics. So like in this, New York City is getting totally decimated right now, right? Lockdown, they're having all kinds of problems, but upstate New York have no cases.
So we're talking about like Albany, Rochester, Buffalo.
Yeah.
Like upstate. Okay.
There's they call it the New Jersey Turnpike shield. So north of the New Jersey Turnpike, they have nothing.
Interesting.
Because that's the Appalachian Mountains. It's cool. It's a lot less humid, and everyone lives in rural towns and they have private property.
Right.
So they're separated from each other.
Right.
So when they hunker down, they don't have to encounter strangers.
Pure Grosso in the comments is saying they have no clue what's going on.
I believe there are people that know. There are think tanks out there that would give you nightmares. That what they do every day and what they know. Like there are powerful people out there that are on this. I'm quite certain. Are they going to share it with us? Only
Of course
if it benefits them. If it benefits them, they will. Right? Because that's the nature of power.
Interesting. Wow.
So we have a retirement home not far from here, about 200 kilometers north, in a town called Bob Cajun. The entire retirement home, they all died.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Right, every resident and half the staff all gone. It was a respiratory area focus, critical care retirement residence. So all the people that worked there had respiratory issues. I mean, all the people that stayed there that were patients.
So
by the time they started to get sick, they closed it down. They wouldn't let anyone leave. They contained the situation, right?
Right.
All those people passed.
Because
Which is showing me that the close contact is a serious issue. The social distancing thing, I'm not a big. I don't really buy it, because if you're out and about, that's it, right? You're just buying your autoimmune system time to adapt to it. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to slow it down so we'll get essentially vaccinate ourselves, because your body does do that, believe it or not.
I got one here for you. So coronavirus could be plateauing in New York, New Jersey, says governors. Now here's the deal with that. Are they just saving this to save their skin, or what do you think the deal is? Because that city is getting severely ravaged, and they're trying to now they're trying to look for tags of New York tags of vehicles that are like down on I-95 South. They're trying to pick up vehicles way down in South Carolina, even in Florida, with New York tags.
Desperate measures is showing me that the frontline staff are grasping at straws because they really don't know what to do. Right? There like I said, there are powers that be that are aware of the situation, and they're usually the ones that that control healthcare industry, supply all the masks, for example. If you notice, all of a sudden no one has masks, right?
Did you see that video I did about the mask wars?
Yes.
There's so much like monkey business going on in the back end.
Oh, I got one for you. The toilet paper. When this first started, the toilet paper. Yeah. I looked at a video on YouTube on how they manufacture toilet paper. They can fill a 53-foot truck of toilet paper in about 8 minutes. Right? There's no such thing as a shortage of toilet paper. There never was. There never will be.
No.
Right?
No.
And but they were ripping it off the shelves, and all of a sudden there was all these issues. If you're manufacturing this stuff, you could just hold back for a couple days, and it would appear that there was a shortage.
Yeah, I did a video called Toilet Paper Wars, and then I did the
it's almost like an experiment. It almost appears to be an experiment to me.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way.
Where they're adding variables, because now they have a baseline. They have their 0 point. Okay, we've introduced this. We have a 0 point. Now let's introduce variables to see if we can get fluctuations. Much like, say you had your swimming pool. You have it all balanced out with the chemicals. Anybody ever owned a swimming pool, they know it never ends, right?
Right.
So you got your perfect balance, and you're like, okay, I'm going to throw 4 liters of Coca-Cola in there and see if there's a change in the baseline. That's the experiment, right?
Right.
So whether it was manufactured or not, once you have a baseline, you can start introducing variables to see results and document it.
Mm-hmm. So
people are capitalizing on the situation. Human beings love a crisis.
Right. It's not like we're like I've been attacked recently about being like I'm fear mongering on my channel. I just want to talk. No one's under the gun, or no one's under pressure to be on here.
Oh, well, there's no such thing as bad press, Mike. If someone talking smack about you, take it. It's fine. There's no such thing as bad press. I
understand, but it's just, no one's being pressured to be here.
Of course not. It's YouTube. There's how many folks have a similar channel to yours? Millions, right?
Yeah, millions.
Yeah, millions of them. You can simply click on the next video. That's not an issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if someone takes the time to tell you how much they hate you, they gotta love you just a little bit.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Because hate isn't what you think it is.
No, I know. It's a reverse psychology. I gotta pay attention to Bill Cosby more often.
Well, he might not be the best lad to look to. There was some discrepancies popped up later in his career, and he's sharing a cell with Harvey Weinstein right now.
Mm-hmm. Anthony D in the comments is saying Mike was on this COVID-19 before anybody else.
Yes, and you were also on many things that you found suspicious. And what got me into your show was discussing real estate, because this was a significant issue that still hasn't been addressed yet, by the way.
Yeah, no, it
Right?
hasn't been, and it won't be addressed until the Canadian proper is looking for passage into the U.S. somehow, some way.
Yes, and our American friends down south, they treat us better than we treat them. Like the Americans do treat Canada better than we treat the Americans, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even though I'm sure it's different out west, but here in Ontario, there's this snooty arrogance we have to our American friends. I don't know what caused it. Maybe they're envious of them. I don't know, but they're Americans have always treated me fantastic all my time down in the States. Never had any issues. In fact, I found them to be very accommodating. Treat me like a special guest, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, I find it strange because I'm getting the cold shoulder when I go up to Toronto, right? So I found it bizarre, and I still haven't figured out what that is, right? But if we had millions of Canadians flocking down to the United States, fleeing our sinking economy, they would probably let us in, even though we don't deserve it.
I hope, I tried to immigrate there and it didn't work out. I did everything by the book, and they just said they weren't looking for my kind at the time. That was, I don't know, that was in the early 2000s, right?
Right, right.
I did everything by the book. I had a big company to sponsor me. They did all the books, and then they ran an ad for 6 months to make sure I wasn't stealing an American's job. And everything went good. And then they went to the interview, and before I even got to speak to them, they said, "Unfortunately, we're going to reject you for now because you could reapply in 5 years." And I'm like, "That's okay."
I find that really strange. It must have been where you were immigrating to. Like, was it Florida? I think
Yeah.
it was. You were telling me.
Yeah, Miami. Yeah.
Well, they've been hard hit by immigration many times in the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they've had started in, I'm not even sure when it started, but I know that Latin Americans or people
It was
that are
when
like
it was when
Spanish
it was when all the prisoners were freed from Cuba, and they all ended up in Miami.
right. That was early '80s, late '70s,
81, 82,
maybe?
yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right. So that whole Latin feel, maybe they felt they got overdosed on it, right?
Yeah,
I
and because I
certainly
told them I
would've,
spoke Spanish, that probably didn't help. I don't know.
maybe it didn't help, right?
Yeah.
But I know that if you had tried and you said, "Well, I have a job in Los Angeles," it would not have been an issue.
That's something for me to think over again. Okay, so New York State suffers the largest single-day increase in COVID deaths. So this is New York State. Now they're taking the state as a whole. Governor reports 731 deaths on Monday as number killed in New York City eclipses the death toll from 9/11. So this is one. I wish I had a hat on because I take it off right now for all the care workers, the truck drivers, everybody that's on the front lines keeping our distribution going, and the care workers that are keeping people alive. I don't even know what to do. Like, I was talking to a lady, a nurse from Mississippi, and I offered to mail her gloves and masks. I was just going to go buy it at the Canadian Tire because they get a restock. I was going to buy like 3 boxes of masks and 3 boxes of gloves and mail it to her to her hospital. Huh?
Right. It wouldn't even make it down there.
You don't think it would make it?
That's all. Oh, you know how many hands it would go through before it got down there? So I got one for you. I have friends down in Venezuela. I did some security down in South America, right? So when their economy collapsed in Venezuela, right? We were trying to send people I work with. They were my friends. I was trying to send them supplies. They got nothing. Not a thing, not a letter even, because I sent a test letter down there, right? They got nothing. FedEx didn't matter, right? Because as soon as it got into Venezuela, it disappeared. I couldn't even tell you.
That's not good.
Right? And this was several years ago, would be when it wasn't as bad as it is now, when it was just getting started. Because they were asking me for, they're like, do you have surplus stuff at your house? Like an old coffee pot, a VCR, like anything, right? Electronics, clothes, boots, shoes, anything, right? So it was sending them all this kind of surplus stuff around the house. Nothing. They never got a single piece of it.
Wow.
Right? And now I lost.
But going
I
to
lost
the
contact
United
with them.
States, tracked packaging?
Well, the bottom falls out of civilization very quickly. A lot of people is not aware, right? The bottom falls out very, very quickly. It doesn't take long.
Okay. Okay. So yeah. So So New York will need
Other
to.
culture is very different.
So we got the governor there saying that New York needs to scale up its testing. When in Ontario they're saying so. In New York says they need to scale up their testing. They want to start trying to test anywhere from 8 to 16 to 35,000, depending what part of New York State you're in, per day. But Canada doesn't even do 300 tests, and they want to stop doing testing in Canada.
I don't think it's way too late for that. I think that they're focusing their procurement on ventilators and advanced life support equipment. It's too late. By the time this thing hit us, it was already 20-30% of us have it, and by June, July, August, all of us will have been exposed and either develop immunity to it or not. That's how influenza. Think of the common flu, right? Nobody panics the common flu anymore, even though it does kill people every year, right?
Right.
But by the time somebody in your town or you get the flu, everyone's got it already because of the mammalian way that it moves from person to person.
It almost like
And
it
also,
reprograms itself in a different person every time.
That's totally common to have a mutation. That's why we get sick every year, because the flu that has the blue baseball cap on, your immune system is your security system, right? It's like, oh yeah, I remember him last year. He can leave, right? But he takes the hat off and you don't recognize him.
Right.
Right? So he can come in and set up shop, right?
So tell us what's happening in your neck of the woods. It's all empty, eh?
I had been doing some work across the GTA on the other side, commuting back and forth. And we had seen the only thing that I've seen is a large amounts of Canadian police sitting at the highway watching traffic and pulling vehicles over and stuff like that. I don't know what they're doing. I'm sure that we could find something far more constructive for our police officers to be doing than shaking down people for change on the highway. Like that is just ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Mostly everything out in my neck of the woods is closed. But I some red flags I'm seeing. Okay, the beer store is open. You can go buy a Subway sandwich and you can go get grocery shopping, right? These are like the giveaway, or this is the giveaway that they're not really concerned about trying to contain it, because the worst place you'd want to go is Walmart, right? The worst place. Everybody in your town goes there, right? And touches everything, right? You might as well invite them over to your house and put them in your kitchen and let them touch all your stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So if Walmart's open, right, they're not concerned about containing this, right? They're just not, because it's already too late. Mm-hmm. When we first started getting word from China in November, if we had shut it down then we would be on a far better footing, right? It's way too late for that. So everything else is just window dressing, and they're using it probably to save money, because everything that's shut down, particularly government services. Mm-hmm. I know in Ontario you can't access government services without a computer. So if you want to get a hold of anybody in the government, you leave them an email, right? So this is showing me that they don't have to run their buildings, they don't have to pay the electricity. They'll do this to get away with it, right? To save money,
right?
Even for a moment. Right. So, but I can still go buy a Subway sandwich, but good luck, getting a sticker for your car or anything like that. It's just ridiculous. Right. Mm-hmm. So now what'll happen is, they gave us these ridiculous blue license plates. Now you can't see them at nighttime. So of course the police are pissed off about it. They'll pull you over and give you a hard time. You can't go change them because the Ministry of Transportation is closed. Right. So you have to put up with this harassment because, like I said, my car's got this ridiculous blue license plates on it. Nighttime, you can't see anything. It just looks like a blue plate, right?
That's awesome, dude.
Like, well, so the police will give you a hard time about it. I'm like, well, if you can take me to a place to buy me new license plates, I'll follow you, right? They have no answer for it. You're gonna write me a ticket for that? I bought it off you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I don't
so
know whose brilliant idea was that, but they had to go neutral. I guess white's no good nowadays, right?
I have no idea what the logic is there.
Yeah.
Or if you gotta, you're getting final notices that you gotta pay a traffic ticket because they gave you one, you go to the place that's closed,
Yeah. So you can't even. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I know what you're going with that. Yeah. Okay, Jacob. Thanks for taking 40 minutes to talk to us. I really appreciate that.
Oh, I always got time for you.
Thanks, brother. I really appreciate you being on hand for this one. I really wanted to get some answers. I'm going to get Supremo Cannon on right now. I hope he's okay. He's having some real serious connection issues. I've been trying to connect with him while I've been on with you, and it keeps
Whereabouts is he
saying
located?
that. Huh?
Where's he located?
He's like northeast of me. He's not far. He's
okay.
he's about an hour drive away from me.
And you don't normally have connection issues out there.
Not really. He's usually okay. Sometimes he's got some bad connection issues, but sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he does.
It could be the load on our system in general, because now we have 20 plus million Canadians at home on the internet all day and all night.
Watching Netflix.
Yeah, or streaming YouTube videos or doing what we're doing now. Right?
Yeah, Pornhub.
Yeah, exactly. So our system can only handle so much. That's a whole other conversation.
Well, we're gonna bring you on maybe when you can. I don't know, maybe the next Mike of the Night. Maybe you could do some research on a few things. I'll give you some homework if you got some time. Okay.
Absolutely. Just give me a heads up and I'll be there.
God bless you.
Okay. Cheers. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
That is my man Jacob. And let's see if I could get Supremo on. I've been trying to connect him. Hold on.
Hola, Miguel.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Not much. We'll see how long we go here before this thing cuts out on me.
Okay, did you watch the backstory of tonight's show?
Yeah, you bet. Yeah.
Now, my question to you is, let's start with the first main question I have, because this is very important. Is this one here? Let's get back to the, where was that? Right here. Why are we getting, modeling suggests that as many as 800,000 COVID-19 infections could sweep Alberta, says Premier Jason Kenney. Now, he's saying one thing, and then in Ontario, I have a couple of articles here where they say it's starting to plateau in Ontario, and it looks like they have this under control in the province of Ontario. Why are these two completely contradicting each other?
Man, that's an excellent question. Yeah, 800,000 would be pretty dire. That would be 20% of the population of Alberta could get this thing. Of course, it's concentrated in 2 or 3 major cities, so that's probably the issue.
So, but why are we getting 800,000 here, where in Ontario they've already fixed it? Basically, it's going towards negative. And now let me take one step back, okay? Why are they under testing people? Here, let me find the article. As New Jersey, Ontario. Okay, so cases as testing declines. So they're getting less cases, but they're declining testing. So right now, here it is. Tests complete are the lowest it's ever been, and then you have this skyrocketing graph here from Quebec that's getting so many cases per day.
Yeah, well, the testing ultimately is what opens up the window on how bad it is, right? Because you really don't know how many people have this thing until you start getting positive tests.
Okay.
Or a ratio, right?
Okay, here it is. So, just so I don't misinform people. Why is BC flattening the COVID-19 curve while numbers in central Canada surge? Well, apparently they're not testing as much. Quebec is the #1 tester for Canada. If you want to get tested, drive to Quebec and get tested, because they'll test you there. And they are testing like up the wazoo. But Ontario saying that they're starting to plateau and things look like they're going to be okay. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not understanding what the heck is going on here.
No one knows what's going on. There's a non-zero possibility that they don't know what's going on, but they have to say something, right? If you're going to send everybody home and turn the key off on your entire economy, you're going to have to keep regular updates coming. I would not be surprised if there's as I've said before, there's probably a political backdrop to some of this. It's certainly going to soften the blow of people sitting at home. If it looks like there's dire numbers of infected people coming, regardless of the fact that everyone's at home. So I can't think of too many places that have been hit harder than Alberta. So that might be why they would even publish a model like that, just to soften the blow of people staying home so they can figure out what they're going to do moving forward. That would be a political angle. I don't know if that's correct or not, but if I was sitting in the office making the decision and I had the kind of problems that they have there, that might just be something to say, well, for the sake of safety, it could be that bad, so we're going to send it makes it easier to sell people sitting at home.
Interesting. Now, let me ask you this one. Chinese tourist sites are packed as coronavirus lockdown lifts. So here it is. Let me see if I could get some images here. Looks like there's cars on the road. I'm just trying to see if I could get some images. Now, they're just showing New York and stuff. I'm just trying to figure out, if, in your opinion, is it a bit too early to maybe lift this? Because the second article says, here comes the second wave. Wuhan lockdown ends as tens of thousands are about to flee the city. Now, tell us what you think about this.
Okay.
Are you still there, Supreme?
I'm still here. Yeah. Okay, well, I thought you were going to play that video there. Okay.
No. I played it, but it was just showing New York. I just want to know if there's a second wave. There usually is, but what do you think? Like, do you think the lockdown was too early? What do you think, Supreme?
Well, where Wuhan was concerned, as I've said before, I think the lockdown came way too late. The lockdown should probably have happened mid-December. Like, they should have canceled Chinese New Year. If this thing is what they say it is, okay. Now, there is a possibility that this is being used as more of an economic neutron bomb. Oh my God, we've got this runaway pandemic. We've got to shut down the economy, knowing full well that would send a shockwave through the entire world, right? And the more fragile economies are going to be highly exposed to it. We'll see as time goes forward. But if this was something that was stacking bodies and they were actually having to burn people, then no, it's way too early. How could they know? How could they know? They've got people locked in apartment buildings and welded shut. They probably can't even get the positive cases or the dead bodies out of there. Like, we just don't have enough information about how they're dealing with mass infection in mass housing like that.
Yeah, that was pretty intense when we got those videos in, and we started watching those videos, right?
Yeah, it looked bad. It looked really bad. But when you've got a possible I'm sorry to interrupt you. When you've got a possible asymptomatic period where you could be carrying this thing for up to a month, well, then it's 30 days from the time the last person goes inside, which will probably never happen, really, practically. So, yeah, declaring it over or starting to lighten up, unless they're insisting on making sure there's lots of hand sanitizer and absolutely everybody wears a mask at all times, I don't really see how they've gotten ahead of this. They seem to have been reporting no new cases for a while too, Mike.
Yes.
Which I'm not buying at all.
No, you don't believe them? China never lies.
No, I'm not. Although they're at this point in time, they probably don't have a choice. They've got their own economic issues, and they're going to. They've got their own economic issues. At some point in time, they have to start the engine again.
Earlier today, I had an in-depth conversation with a person from China who lives in Canada, and over Skype, and he told me that every time he's watching the show, and I bring up, more Canada bringing in more wealthy investors and this and that, and he's always like this. He's always, yep, Mike for 3 points right there. Yep, Mike got the layup. Mike got the foul. He's going to shoot for 2, He was actually telling me that. He's like, yep, another 3 for Mike. Like it's a basketball game. He's like, yep, Mike, this guy is like 100%. 100%. And he's from
Yeah.
a small province in China, too.
Sure, yeah. Oh, yeah. Kobe Martin's calling it all the way. Well, yeah, it's economic imperialism, right? Aided and abetted by our own ruling class and our own financial elites. They're all involved in it. You look at the amount of money that the Chinese were putting in their Thousand Talents program, basically buying access to our best brains and using them to transfer technology and mostly technology, obviously, medical tech, things like that. The virus samples that were busted in Canada that they were trying to send to Wuhan while this was all going on, or not long before it started.
Right.
So yeah, no, there's some serious. We've got some serious holes in our security. Anyway, and they needed to be plugged. And of course, now everyone's saying this is completely draconian. This should never have happened. It should never have been permitted to happen. This is nothing short of treason, as far as I'm concerned, and it should be treated that way. But that's just my take on it. And even if this bug itself is not as bad as everyone's making it out to be, although obviously, all of these, as Jake said, you've got retirement homes where everyone is dying. Well, those retirement homes, a lot of them are they're not good. They're not particularly hygienic. A lot of the staff is very indifferent, right? Like some are very well run. Obviously, there are exceptions, but a lot are not. They're just basically houses for the dying. They're not that concerned about hygiene and conditions and things like that. So yeah, unfortunately, the people that were living in those places, they were sitting ducks for this, just like they would be for almost anything else.
I opened an article here for the sake of Low Roller Scratcher so he doesn't get a heart attack. He sent me this link. He's commented on every video I've made in the last 5 days asking if I'm going to cover a tiger at the Bronx Zoo tests positive for COVID.
Oh, dear. Yeah.
It's become the first of her kind to test positive for COVID. The 4-year-old female mainland tiger tested positive after developing a dry cough and is expected to recover. The Wildlife Conservation Society of the Bronx Zoo says it in a news release. Now, let me ask you something about this. Is this thing severely airborne? I'm talking airborne where, like, across the parking lot airborne. Because who gets close to a tiger?
The people that feed it. And it depends what it's being fed to, right? I mean, most of these coronavirus infections have been tracked to animals. There is some point in time where a mutation is passed to humans, but they originate mostly from animals, right? I mean, this one we're dealing with right now apparently was made in a lab, but it was just a modification of something that would be more prevalent in animals like bats and snakes.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, definitely some animals could get it, particularly exotic ones. And certainly over here, we don't have any, none of the animals here would have any natural, none of us have any natural immunity to anything coming from Asia.
So we have intensive care doctor with COVID made her goodbye video for her kids. Wow. That's intense.
Yeah, that's awful. That it really is awful. No, I believe that this thing is real and it is killing real people, and it's something that needs to be taken seriously. Just because it might be half of people don't have any symptoms at all, the rest of us have something like what seemed to have been going through in December, January. Lots of people are saying that they may have had it already. I may have had it already. Okay, but there is a certain percentage of people that this is gonna kill them dead. Like they have no chance, or very, very faint chance, without heroic medical intervention.
And you know what else? Also, any update on Boris Johnson?
As far as I know, he's not on a ventilator. He is on oxygen. He's still in the ICU, mostly for monitoring. Now whatever they have, whatever funky cocktail of drugs they have, obviously he's the prime minister. He'll be getting it, but it looks like he's going to recover.
And let's go over to... So, deadliest day in COVID, we covered that already. Again, Ontario's not testing for cases again. Again. Hold on. Modeling. We went over the 800,000 infections. Then we went over the shortage of or testing declines. I honestly think that's dangerous, but I'm gonna go with what you said, that maybe it's already here and it's kind of tough to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, as far as I know, it's people. If you have a decline in testing, it would only be either because they don't have enough tests and they're not saying that, or there are fewer people showing up to be tested.
Let's-
In the beginning, at least. Sorry, I'll just finish my thought
Yeah.
here. In the beginning, it was just people who were showing possible symptoms who were showing up to get tested. Someone who was asymptomatic or maybe was exposed to that person, obviously they'd want to get tested. Maybe they've gotten them all for now. I mean, everyone's been sitting home. At some point in time, this virus drops to the ground and it dies. It doesn't move itself. It doesn't have wings. It needs people to move it around. So if everyone's home, it stands to reason, at least short term, yeah, the number of incidences should drop sharply.
Okay, I got this one here. We're trying to build models or trying to create a model of what we're looking at. But then how could we... Italy's coronavirus death toll is likely much higher. Most deaths simply aren't counted. Now, my concern with this, and I told Jacob the same thing. I told him, how are we going to build a proper model and know how this thing is acting without... and then from Italy, we're getting cases like people dying from 20 to 30 and 30 to 40. 25% of the cases are people from 20 to 30.
Yeah, but it does seem to be that they have pre-existing conditions, and that can also include things like obesity, which is prevalent. I mean, it's not so prevalent in Italy, but Italy has a proportionately larger population, obviously, or a larger population of seniors, and they get more visitors in a year than the entire population of their country. So there are certain factors in Italy that might not be so. I'd be curious to happen with those spring breakers that were
The
at
partiers,
hockey
right?
and the partiers, yeah, nothing.
Well,
you know,
already I think 5 or
solo,
10 or 20 people. The one from University of Texas,
Yeah,
a lot of them went to Mexico.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, drinking beers out of each other's butt cracks. Gee, I wonder why they got sick. It's a miracle they don't die anyway, right? God Almighty. But I guess what we need to know from that is, okay, they've got COVID. Did they give it to grandma, or did they self-isolate, or did any of them did it get serious, or did they make a full recovery? 19, 20-year-olds should be fine. They should come through this all right.
Okay, we got here 44 of the 70 Austinians who flew to Mexico for spring break tested positive for COVID.
Yeah.
So
I'm not
44
shocked.
of 70 is not, that's pretty bad odds.
It's pretty bad odds, but 1 in 4 people in the States has an STD too, right? So or 1 in 3. So I almost guaranteed some of them tested positive for something when they came back. I have no idea at all why this nonsense still continues to this day. I mean, okay, yeah, get away from home and go be naughty, but when the odds of coming back with a life-changing illness, is it really worth it?
No, it's not. Of course not. But then
it's not.
But then what? We don't even know, to be honest with you, what the after effect is going to be 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road from this, from people that got better from it. And because I was reading a lot of stuff on the Spanish influenza and Spanish influenza, and I was reading a lot of the propaganda on Mike in the Night last night. Not propaganda, but just advertising from all over the United States and Canada, basically saying the same thing. Wash your hands, stay distant. Movie halls, moving picture halls, theaters are all closed until further notice, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's right.
It's exactly what's happening 102 years later. But my question is we're rewriting history. It's happening again 102 years later. We're seeing this, but now we got the jump on it with technology. We kind of get the jump on it now knowing what's happening. You know what I'm saying? But are we going about it the right way, Supreme? Is there a better way we could do this?
Well, first of all, globalism has to die, stone dead right now. This idea of getting on a plane and freely traveling all over the place into everybody's country and more integrated societies has to stop. It's got to be over. If they think they're going to turn the lights back on and carry on doing what they were doing, no, No, if the people in charge of our healthcare, the World Health Organization, and all these other organizations say, okay, well, we're going to keep the world open and continue to do all the stupid things we're doing, but now you have to take this shot in your butt in order to be able to travel on the highway or go anywhere. No, it's time for war. It's not time to go back to normal. This thing might mutate. If that is the case, I don't think the solution is vaccines. I don't think the solution was ever vaccines, to be honest.
No.
Not where this is concerned. I'm not going to say all vaccines are bad, okay? I'm not going down that track. But in a case like this, no, they have something to prove. The same people that say these vaccines are gonna save us are the same people that let this nonsense happen. And you could even argue the burden of proof would be on them that they didn't cause it to happen.
Well,
so they got to sell this. Like Gates apparently said he's going to fund like 7 labs to work on vaccines, and surprise, surprise, it's not even off the news cycle. And he says he's already got one ready for human testing. And I have zero interest in anything that man produces. Like zero.
No, neither do I. So let's backtrack back to the Spanish influenza. A lot of people don't know this, but I stumbled upon an article from, I think it was from the Baltimore Gazette or the Baltimore Times from 1918. And it was kind of concerning because they did an article on how the life expectancy... No, it was from 1920, sorry, after the Spanish influenza made its rounds. Basically, it said that the life expectancy of men has dropped from 40 from like a weird age all the way down to like 48, and then or 38, and women life expectancy went down to about 41 back in 1920 when they were noticing that people that were infected by this sickness took a toll on their life expectancy.
Yeah, well, the casualties were huge, obviously, but this also, I wonder if that also included the fact that several, 10 or 15 million men between the ages of, 16 and 30 were killed in the Great War just before that. Right? I mean, that's part of the reason this thing spread as much as it did, is because there was a world war. It was literally happening all over the globe. So you had a lot of people being shifting around, not to mention refugees.
Let me ask you something. Do you think that this COVID will damage? Like, I know we don't know yet because we're just in the beginning of this thing. But do you honestly, wholeheartedly think that the people that do recover, might actually damage their life expectancy? Because that's what happened with the Spanish influenza. And that's what the Baltimore article from, I think it was 1919 or 1920, was stated. Yeah. And also, I got something from the Maryland Post from around that time, stated that, like, more people, this is what they were saying, a lot of people were dying from the vaccine side effects.
Oh, yeah. I mean, vaccination was an inexact science to be kind at that time. So it's highly likely that it was killing people.
Yes, they said a lot of people died from the vaccine, not from the sickness itself.
Yeah, well, a lot of people die from vaccines because the bacteria or the virus that they're, it isn't actually denatured. It isn't actually killed yet. It's still live. So you inject the live virus into somebody. It's not supposed to be live. It's just supposed to be just basically the husk of it, to use a layman's term, so that your body can identify it and build the antibodies.
Immunity for it, like basically the fumes of it.
That's right, the fumes of it, yeah, just so that you get your body gets attuned to it, right? It's well, if there is another mutation and it comes around, then if they are earlier to shut down travel, and my take on it again is that travel should not resume, certainly not in the volumes that it did before anyway. Because if something like that's going to go around the world again, well, then guess what? All the mass travel we have has to stop. We're going to have to redesign our economies to rely on a lot less of that, because it can't go back to the way it was. Their solution they're offering is, we'll make some kind of funky vaccine and we'll make you take it, or, you don't get to travel and you don't get to go anywhere. My hope is Mr. Gates and his ilk will be in jail by then, because they should be by now. Because a lot of it is these people and their influence is why this got away and got as far as it did.
Well, my concern is Hill Dog was supposed to be put in jail a long time ago, and Hill Dog's still going around having speeches at empty coliseums.
Yeah, if you're going to take down a cabal per se, okay, I'll throw the word out there because it gets thrown around. You usually have to start from the bottom. You don't cut the head off something like that. Not right away. Yeah, you've got to start from the bottom. I think that's happening right now. The U.S. military is definitely taking advantage of this economic shutdown, and they're doing large scale hits, certainly in our hemisphere, on drug and human trafficking pipelines, and it's been said as much in the press conference. This isn't just the war on COVID, and I would not be surprised if this war doesn't have anything to do with COVID. I think in the case of the U.S., I think that certainly the Trump administration or certain members in it are using this state of emergency to take care of some things that really need taking care of, and they're not all bad. They're not all bad things, because like I said on the last show, you got 280 to 300 million Americans sitting at home with all of their guns and ammo. Martial law is not coming to the United States. That's not happening.
Locked and loaded. Okay, we got
Locked and loaded.
Dennis saying world population is too large for localized economies. Take China. They can't even feed themselves. This is going to be bad.
Yeah, but remember that our agriculture, okay, will probably not be exposed to this very much. Okay, and 2%. It used to be 90% of the people of any population were involved in some kind of food production. Now we're down to 2%. The likelihood is very large that food won't be the issue. The issue will be finding things for people to do. You know, if travel agencies and cruise lines and things like that, I mean, people are spooked. It's going to be a while before this thing gets back up to speed regardless. I don't think that's the issue. Okay, I mean, they restarted they shut down the peacetime economy to re-gear for a wartime economy twice in 100 years. You know, and we still have a functioning economy today. It does take a while, and there are some disruptions, obviously, but I don't think food is going to be the issue unless you just had an endemic of bad harvests all around the world at some point in time. Well, God, half the stuff people put in their mouths now is made of oil, right?
Yep.
They'll find something else. Dairy cattle produce every day. Chickens produce eggs every day. You know, the beef and like the farms in Arizona, New Mexico, Southern California, other places around the world, they go year round. It may be that prices are higher, but the cure to that is if you're going to have a wartime economy for a while, then you institute rationing. So everybody gets at least most of what they need. I don't think starvation will be the issue.
No, I don't think so either. I have an article that was sent to us from our friend there, a Low Roller Scratcher. This was posted 4 hours ago. Scores of probable coronavirus deaths not counted in New York City tally. So there's something really going on here, Supreme. And I'm talking I'm talking about big enchilada. I'm talking about the Event Horizon. I'm talking big deal. Because now when America... if there's a rumor of them not counting deaths that are coronavirus related, you got to be scared now.
You've got to make sure that you understand where the source of that, because what I'm hearing is the other way around.
New York Post.
New York Post? Okay. Well, that might not be so bad, because what has been happening is there are a lot of instances where the cause of death was not COVID, but if the person was positive for it, then that was listed as the cause of death. So
right, I understand
depending
that.
And that Dr. Birx alluded to that as much in the last press conference, that they're calling everything COVID if the person was positive for it, regardless of whether they died of pneumonia or whether they died because they got hit by a bus. So there again, it's too much speculation chasing too few facts. Like, we're just not going to get all the truth for I would think another year or so. It's going to be a little while. Let
me ask you a kind of out of the box question. I know you don't have numbers for this, but do you? I think more people are dying than average with this COVID. Do you think? If we see more people dying on more than average, then there's obviously should be some sort of proof that this virus is really ravaging through the population.
Well, if it's in addition to the normal amount of flu deaths in a year, then it's definitely a separate scourge, and it
Right.
needs to be dealt with. It does seem that it is unique in its transmission, and then the fact that you can carry it so long before you can develop any kind of symptoms, or not develop any at all and pass it along. Its R0 factor was as high as 7 apparently, which is insane. Right. So the only way you're going to stop something like that is, you have to send people home and shut down you have to shut down the economy or large parts of it. There's no choice.
Wow.
So
listen to this. Luciano Todman, a 28-year-old with no underlying symptoms, died early on March 29 in the Bronx apartment after days of diarrhea and vomiting and difficulty breathing. His mother told first responders. Holy crap.
yeah, that's not good.
A
Obviously.
28-year-old on home from lockdown, from working at Taco Bell or maybe working at Walmart or something, comes home, watching TV, and then boom. Like, no, it's, I don't know, Supreme.
Yeah, no, that sounds serious. I didn't know that diarrhea was one of the symptoms. I didn't know if that was the case. It seemed to me that it was you had the dry cough or difficulty breathing, and you felt like you got hit by a truck.
No, I've heard diarrhea in quite a few instances from different
all
cases.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, well that would make sense because hydroxychloroquine is an anti-malaria drug, and it sounds like the symptoms of malaria too. There's no question. Every bug that comes through does carry away some young people every year too. It's just there's chinks in the army. The Spanish flu, the number of healthy young people that it killed off was just devastating. You know, you'd feel lousy at noon, and by supper time you were dead. Like it just set your immune system basically killed you. It set off a cytokine storm, and your organs started to dissolve. I mean, you're dead in hours.
Okay.
It can happen, yeah.
After Queens man was found unresponsive in his apartment on April 3rd, according to sources, the 50-year-old Tomke had tried for a few days earlier to get tested, but was turned away at the hospital after it ran out of tests.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good. If you get a surge in tests, and obviously they're not making the tests themselves at the hospital, they've got to know how many to order. And the likelihood is if everybody is trying to get ahead of the curve on testing, everyone's going to be ordering more than they need. So they're going to be rationed as it is. And you have to ramp up production for it. And of course, there's slowdowns because apparently there was a bunch of tests that came from China that were not only defective, but had live viruses.
Oh, what hasn't come from China that's been defective?
Yeah, and that's a problem. Is that sabotage, or is that just the usual Chinese manufacturing? What is that about?
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's terrible. And the thing is that you lose valuable time. You know, you ordered these things so you get ahead of the curve, and now you've got a month's worth of tests, and they're no good. You got to send them back.
Okay.
You can't use them, so you haven't gained any time at all.
Okay, watch this one. According to the 100 cases, none of these cases were included in the total count of New Yorkers claimed by coronavirus. So the ones I've been reading for you, none of these cases have been added to new deaths by coronavirus because they weren't tested before dying.
Interesting. Okay. So they died, but they didn't know what. They just put the cause of death as whatever the symptoms were.
Exactly. So that 20-whatever-year-old died from diarrhea and vomiting. So wow. So this is so I'm saying like I don't see the New York Post having to make up stories like and using people's real names. I don't think they would go out of. So a lot of the cases that's been reviewed by the New York Post, of the 100 cases they reviewed, were not entered. So what if they reviewed 3,000 cases and then those weren't entered? So what is realistically happening, right? So they weren't tested before dying, and those are a number, and those are number only came from calls cops responded to. Wow.
Okay.
Wow. So the first response, basically.
Right. Well, you've reached a point where I don't know when did that 28-year-old pass away? Was that within the last week or so?
Yeah,
or
last
was that
week.
Earlier last week. Okay. Because
March 29th.
March 29th, because New York is locked down, and you had an entire hospital ship coming.
Supreme? Supreme? Oh no, we're getting the poor connection. Supreme? We lost him. Let's give him a few seconds, see if he calls back. He'll call back. So this is all these deaths that are not being added to. So I don't see why they just make this story up. Like, if it was fake news, why? Oh, I still got no connection with him. Yeah, he's been having poor connection all day. I talked to him a few times today. There's a very poor connection with him. I hope it's okay. But so on Sunday alone, the EMS responded to 322 calls, but only 81 survived. What the hell is going on? Timothy's calling in. What's up, Timothy?
Hey man, how are ya?
I'm doing fantastic.
Yeah, I'm still feeling a bit sick, but I'm talking a bit better. My chest is in pain. My mate told me to go to hospital.
Yeah, you were supposed to get tested. Did you end up getting tested?
No, my mate's telling me I should go get tested because of my chest pains.
Wow. I'm really and have you been like taking in more fluids? I know you drink a lot of coffee. Have you cut back? Because that makes you very dehydrated.
I'm drinking more water.
Yeah, water's the best thing. I mean, water's the best thing for hydration, right?
Yeah.
That's good to hear. What else have you been? I'm just trying to think if they keep you occupied. Yeah, keep your mind occupied off it, because a lot of this also stems.
Just in bed watching Mike Martin's
channel. I like your accent,
yeah,
buddy.
Awesome.
So
well,
guys,
I'm sick at the moment. I don't usually talk like this.
Mm-hmm. No, I like it. I like your accent. It's pretty cool. Timothy is from just a few miles out of the downtown Sydney, and he hasn't been feeling well. He's been very sick, and he watches the channel. And so, what do you? But you are feeling better. You said you were feeling better, right?
I'm talking a lot better, and
Good.
I don't have like a runny nose or anything, but my chest pain, that's the main issue, the chest pain. Hey, do you want to hear the conspiracy?
Go ahead.
The COVID-19 is man-made by China, and they released it deliberately to crash the stock market.
Right. Yeah, we talked about that many times on the show.
Yeah.
And
as a retaliation to the tariffs, to Trump's tariffs and the trade war, they released COVID-19.
Right? No,
to
that's
crash
something.
The economy.
That's something that's been sprung around since day one of this damn thing. And yeah, it's a perfect cover. It's a perfect way for the banks to wash their hands. It's the perfect everything, right?
Yeah.
But
like I was talking to my brother's friend, and he thinks the same way, and my uncle is saying the same thing, that this was all deliberate.
Yeah, no, this is definitely something that's definitely something that we need to question further, and obviously it like the other caller that was on, it's going to take time for us to get to the bottom of everything. It could take another 5 to 10 years to really till the poop comes to the top, right?
Well, they've postponed the Olympics
in Japan.
Tokyo. Yeah, they've postponed it because of COVID-19.
I'm going to try and get the man from Japan on the show to give us an update on what's happening there. Because last time we had a man from Japan on the show, a few weeks back, he said that it was open for business in Japan. Everyone was just living their lives.
They've postponed the Olympics till next year.
Yeah. Yeah. And hopefully...
the only other time the Olympics has been postponed is war times. This is the first time that it's been because of a virus, non-war.
Yeah. So we're dealing with the real deal here. Yeah. It's good to hear that you're sounding better and you're feeling better.
Italy's on lockdown. All these countries are on lockdown. There's all these. You can't go out in public and stuff.
Yeah, social distancing, lockdown, cities on lockdown. They have to do this. Did you watch Mike in the Night last night?
Yes.
Did you see those articles I was reading from all those different parts of the United States about how social distancing?
I saw the one on the Spanish flu. The one you had on the Spanish flu. It was showing on the Spanish flu from 1918.
Yeah, and you see how it's the same 102 years later?
Yeah, when Spanish flu is swine flu, they're the same thing.
Yes,
swine flu and Spanish flu are the same. Yeah, H1N1. And I got it. Yeah. I had it. I had that too.
Holy crap.
The best way I can describe it is it's the worst flu you ever had for a month straight. 1 whole month.
Wow.
I couldn't get out of bed. I only got out of bed for toileting and eating and bathing. But it's the worst flu for a month. That's swine flu. Worst flu you've ever had for a month.
Wow. I did not know that. I did not know that it prolonged for that long.
Worse than I was now. And I gave it to my mate. I sneezed on my hand and I shook my mate's hand and I gave it to him. But yeah, it's swine flu. It's the worst flu you've ever had for a month. You can't get out of bed or anything. It's worse than what I am now. I can at least walk around now.
So we got somebody in the comments saying, mate, drink a lot of hot tea with honey. I mean, a lot, like 4 cups every hour. Hello?
My dad tells me to drink tea. My dad was telling me to drink tea.
Well, we're telling you to drink tea. Drink tea. CCP has never been our friend. I'm just reading some of the comments here, Timothy, while we're talking here. Yeah, just stay strong, buddy. You need to stay strong. You're feeling better. You sound better. And if you don't mind coming, I'm going to let you go because the show is winding down here. But hold on. I need you to come back on Mike in the Night my Saturday, a.k.a. your Sunday, just to tell us how your prognosis has been.
All right, mate.
God bless you.
Sunday. See you, mate.
Okay, bye. That is my man Timothy, who is from, I think it's like 25 miles west of, I think I wrote down, west of Sydney. So, yeah, seaweed wraps. You should eat a lot of seaweed. Okay, so let's see if we can get Supreme Cannon on back for the next 3 minutes before I... Oh, he's got no connection again. Oh, it's dead. Yeah, he said, I went as long as I could, Mikey. No, that's great. You brought a lot to the table here tonight. And this one here, this is it. Obviously, like, this is the death levels aren't matching. So, again, on Sunday alone, EMS responded to 322 calls, but only 81 survived. A total of 2,192 people died during similar calls between March 20 and April 5th, compared to 453 during the same time last year. That is what I was looking for, a comparison to the same time last year. So, from between March 20 and April 5th, 415, that's Supreme. Yo, Supremo.
Hey, how's it going there?
Good. Okay.
Good.
All right, so this answers our question right here. Ready for this?
Okay.
On Sunday alone, EMS reported, emergency services, right? Reported to 322 calls, but only 81 survived. Hold on. A total of 2,192 people died during the similar calls between March 20 and April 5th, compared to 453 during the same time last year. So we got last year's numbers, what was 453 between March 20 and April 5th, to 2,192 people.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, then obviously, yeah, there's something going around, right?
So that made this. So now we got what we were asking for earlier in the conversation.
It looks that way.
Because
Yeah.
that's what we wanted to answer was how do we compare this from, they compared it right here on the New York Post.
Yeah, well, there's your data, right? That's the thing. You can't have a model without data. All your data is a pure speculation.
That's like
Otherwise,
1,600 more people.
yeah, at a time when the city's shut down.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that answers the question, doesn't it? Yeah. The thing is with a place like New York, I mean, some areas their sanitation is downright medieval, right? Like it's just so parts of the city are so old and dirty and overcrowded, and yeah, it's terrible. And when you think New York, of course, New York is several cities all bunched together. So some are obviously doing better than others. Right, you got a lot of drug use, you got a lot of pollution, so it's like northern Italy. It's in some places it's going to be a real sink for all kinds of pollutants, and it's going to affect people. I'd be curious to know which parts of the city and what their overall economic condition is. I'm reasonably
Conditions,
sure that
life. They're like home conditions, mold, this, all kinds of stuff factor in, right?
that's right, exactly. Yeah, people in the Upper East Side and Fifth Avenue are probably not hurting as bad as they would be in, say, the Bronx or the more legendary bad areas like Harlem. We'd need a breakdown, economic breakdown, socioeconomic breakdown. We'd probably need an ethnic breakdown because this virus does seem to hit certain groups worse than others. We need to know pre-existing conditions. It seems like it's something that's carrying off people that are vulnerable for other reasons already.
So, in quotations here from a first responder, obviously we deal with death, but not at this level. This is crazy, said Alan Majora. The New York City's death toll, which surged past 3,000 on Tuesday, only includes the number of confirmed cases. The city does not test people for the disease after they've died, even if they end up in medical examiner's office after fighting coronavirus-like symptoms. Holy crap! And I got someone in the comments saying, "Don't read this, Mike. This is all fake media." So, where do you go, Mike? Stop reading the reports. They are all lies to keep the public busy. I could see that angle. That's yes, but oh man, it just hurts. I'm sorry. Supreme, it just hurts. It hurts to read some of that.
It's terrible to see a spike in deaths like that, particularly people who are younger. You know, untimely death is the saddest kind of all, definitely. But I mean, you have a whole hospital ship that's parked there to deal with the people who are non-COVID, and there's hardly anybody on it. So you can't help but think that a certain number of the deaths ascribed to this virus are something else. If they're not testing them after death, well then, yeah, it's possible that there were a lot of pre-existing conditions and this virus just took them out. You know, it's just hard to say. Yeah. Peter O'Brien, are you sure you're comparing data from the same boroughs? I hear that New York City area averages 400 deaths per day, so these figures don't make sense. There's 7 or 8 million people living there, isn't there? I mean, it's incredibly crowded anyway, like any built-up urban area. It's likely that, hundreds of people die a day, and it doesn't really change your lifestyle in any way. So a spike like that is serious, but it would really only be permanently serious if it was something that went on for months and months, right?
No, they weren't talking about all the deaths in New York. They were talking about first responders. That's what they were talking about. They were talking only about specific first responders that went to locations where people ended up dying, or people ended up dying from COVID. You see what I'm saying? And they're talking about the amount of first responders was like 400 and something because they managed to save people's lives, right? So that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the first respond angle of it, not how many people die in New York every day. Oh, we lost Supreme Canada again. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. It's been a long night, guys. Red Crypto Shark is saying New Zealand released a demographic data that this afternoon, 75% of Euro people infected. We'll get into ketosis already. I'm just reading the comments here, guys. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm tired. I'm going to go spend some time with my wife. I hear her moving around upstairs doing something, so I'm going to go join her. Guys, thanks so much for being part of the show. Thanks so much for being here. Guys, if you want to also, where was it? Don't forget, if you want to support me on Patreon, go ahead. Go ahead and be part of the channel. Many ways to be part of the channel. If you want to share a video, just go ahead and share a video, guys, if you're bored. Let's share some Mike Martin stuff today. Just go ahead and share some videos if you guys don't mind. Don't forget to watch the stream from yesterday, Mike in the Night, Shadows in the Streetlights, and Mike in the Night Mind Games. Mike in the Night Mind Games is really good because we got in callers from all over the place that were telling us their psychological impact. There it is. There it is. Go ahead and watch that one. And we got callers from New Zealand, callers from Australia, callers from all over Canada and all over the United Kingdom, all over the United States that called in and gave us some insight on what is happening in their neck of the woods. Anyways.
Gemini King, Mike in the Night, and the Gemini crew.
Ooh!
Ooh! Mike into the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Mike into the night, you're here with Mike in the night.
Let's just talk about the world. Give this page another turn, 'cause you're here with us tonight.
Everything's alright when you're here with Mike in the night. Mike into the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Giving the world light when you're here with Mike in the night. Mike into the night, you're here with Mike in the night.
Sometimes things are just absurd, so let's just talk about the world, 'cause you're here with us tonight.
Mike into the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Mike into the night, you're here with Mike in the night.
Let's just talk about the world.
Give this page another curl.
'Cause you're here with us tonight.
Remember, everyone, stay safe, and if you can't be safe, be careful.